Hi guys, this is Practiphile and today we're gonna take a look at the Juzear Dragonfly. Thank you so much Hypergo for sending this over. Same thing with most of my videos. I usually do the introduction first and then do the scoring and then the comparison. So you can skip ahead. If you want to know how I score sets, you can check my description right here. But yeah, the Juzear Dragonfly 81T. It's a mouthful. I did review the Butterfly. I think it's the 61T. It was fine for me, honestly. Probably it's just the tonality that's not really for my preference. But this one here, it's a little bit different. Don't tell me that I'm gonna shill on this I am because I didn't like the Butterfly. Yeah. But yeah, starting off with the tonality, at first I was like, this is the graph here, by the way, there. So as you can see there, there's a little bit of channel matching and it's noticeable for me. A little bit of channel imbalance in my unit. But yeah, this set is like sub-bass dominant, very clean bass for me and very good implementation of bass. And then you get a very good gain there, which almost follows my target, but just a little bit energetic around the 6K and moving on to the extension. So this is kind of like balanced or U-shaped leaning to the broader side, but it's still very well compensated with the sub bass, although sometimes you do get that occasional forwardness in the treble, which I will score later. Yeah man, like at first they really sounded bright. I don't know if it's like burn-in or something, but they really do sound better after a few hours or days of like listening. So I can't really give a 3 on the tonality. So yeah, I'll probably just give the tonality 2.5. I like the tonality because it follows there, as you can see, the gain until the 3K, just a little bit of energy there in the upper mids and a little bit of mid bass would help. If this has a little bit of that mid bass there, probably that would fix the forwardness and the treble. So that's why tonality, it sounds really good, but at the same time, I nitpick on some of the sets. So 2.5 for tonality. Bass on this, man, it's probably one of the best implementation of bass around its price point, because again, this is around 250, right? It's competing in the 121 to 250 price category, which has the the Sub 22.4 is there, the Falcon Ultra is there, Mega 5P, Cadenza 4, Chopin Nova, Dyna Quattro. In its price range, I still think that the bass is really good, although I know that my set has channel imbalance, but I can feel the quality of the sub bass. It's really tight. It would have been better if it had a little bit of mid bass, but man, listening to what was I listening to? I was listening to Wish You Were Here by Incubus and the toms, the drum sets, and even like when they start the riff, it's just very good, man. Like the bass lines were so tight and it's very satisfying. So man, just bass 3. I'm gonna give 3 for the bass. Mids, mids also, like especially the female vocals. I was listening to Yorushika's Miyakochi. There's this piano note in the background, dang 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 dang. It sounded correct for me. Vocals sound correct, female vocals sound correct. Male vocals, although it tends to color the upper registers a little bit, but it's fine. It's acceptable. Instruments sound good in them, so no complaints here for the mids. I just think it's really clean sounding. So for the mids, I'm giving it a 3. Now here we go with the treble. You can see here a very big peak around the past 10K, and it's probably giving a lot of resolution, but it's a double-edged sword because if you are sensitive to treble, this kind of tonality might not be for you. So no resolution for you. However, if you can take some treble energy, then probably it's gonna reveal some of like the nuance in a song. So but for me though, I don't like a lot of treble to begin with, but they're very well done in a way. The timbre is fine. I didn't feel like the cymbals sounded off, so hi-hats were sounding okay. Actually, they sound amazing, but just because of this overall forwardness here, it's a little bit distracting at times, like you don't want to change the volume all the time, right? So I've set my volume at some point, but sometimes when the treble gets really aggressive at times, so I have to lower the volume down. It's kind of annoying. So I can't give the treble a perfect 3, so I'm just gonna give it 2.5 for the treble. And moving on to the text, again, as I've mentioned, what was I listening to? Oh, it was Incubus again. The separation and imaging is really good, and it has very good vocal space and separation to the instruments. So I thought that because of that, you're able to, you know, pinpoint where the locations are. I mean, where the instruments are. The panning is great. It just has a very good perceived 3D space. So it's one of the better sets out there, actually. Even if the tonality is really bugging me at times, but when I just listen to it again, it just sounds really clear. The clarity is really good on the Dragonfly, or maybe it's just because of the channel balance on my unit, that's why I'm getting those peaks, but they're not even peaky, they're just forward. Very similar to Cantor. This elevation here in the treble is just really a lot at times for the Cantor. But yeah, I think text on this, yeah, it's 3. Text is 3. So overall score, I think it's 14. And yeah, it's an S. It's an S for the Juzear Dragonfly. Last night I gave it last chance and I said is it gonna be an S or an A plus? But yeah, it did render female vote. If it's driven well, I use the 4.4 balance. If it's driven well, the bass kind of like compensates for that treble gain in there, and it's kind of like mitigates the peaks or something. Alright, so moving on to comparisons with the Dragonfly, what I have here in my price range is, assuming it's like less than 250, so it falls between 121 to 250, and I have the Let's Sure S12s here. Compared to Let's Sure S12s, they have like a similar glide, not really a similar glide. As you can see there, the Let's Sure S12 2024s has more natural replay in the mid bass and bass, and the Dragonfly is leaner in the mid bass. But yeah, you can actually see that if you like more mid bass punch, then probably avoid the Dragonfly. But yeah, you can also see there it has a different peak in the upper treble, which is really a con for some people who are very sensitive to treble. But yeah, if you want a more natural replay, go for the S12 2024s. It's also best sounding for me. But if you want more open mids and more neutral in a way, or bright neutral or bright U-shape, then go for the Butterfly. Another thing that I have here would be the Cadenza. I mean, Cadenza 4. It's also an S ranker for me. Yeah, as you can see there, it's also leaner in the mid bass for the Cadenza 4, but it's also fuller in the mids, which for me sounds more correct, especially for male vocals. You do see there a different emphasis in the upper mids to lower treble for both sets, because the Dragonfly has emphasis there, as you can see, while the Cadenza 4 has a steady decline, which for me sounds correct. But you do get a little bit of sizzle for the Cadenza 4 for some reason, because it's not as smooth. Maybe it's because of the drivers. For me, the Dragonfly sounds more exciting in the treble. Again, if you like treble, then the Dragonfly might be for you. If you're in for a more natural replay, then the Cadenza 4. Another one here, also a cheaper one, would be the Chopin. I'm thinking the Chopin would be a fun sounding set. Let's see there. Boop, there. So as you can see there, there's almost similar curve from 200 until the gain, but you can see there that that's why I don't understand why some reviewers think that the treble on the Chopin is a little bit unrefined. For me, it's actually fine. The emphasis on the upper treble is really different, because you get a very big peak there for the Dragonfly, which can be, as I mentioned, a double-edged sword. It can be really good for people who like treble, like an airy, or not really airy, but sparkly treble presentation. But the Chopin for me also, it sounds good, and it has some bass for that fun. But this is on like just really different audiences. If you're in for like a fun sound with good bass and a talk, then the Chopin. If you like cleaner vocals for females and sparkly treble, then the Dragonfly. The Cantor. If you're really interested on how the Cantor would sound like, this is as close as you can get. I do think that the Cantor is more resolving, and is it justifiable for the price? Probably a little bit, but because of the Dragonfly, I'd call this maybe a baby Aful Cantor in a way that the tonality is very similar, wherein it's balanced with emphasis on the treble, but with the Cantor, you really have to choose the right ear tips so that the treble doesn't come off as really aggressive and not too forward. With the Dragonfly, I know, maybe it was just a burn in, but after like a few days of listening, it did really sound pleasing. I didn't really think of it as an S rank at first. I thought it was like an A or an A plus, but in the past few days, it just really sounded good and sounded really, really nice in the treble. That's what I thought. If you're in a budget, I think the Dragonfly is this is a really good pick for the price, but don't take my word for it. Check for other reviews on what they think about the Dragonfly. I do think that it is really competitive in its price range. It's one of the most resolving in that price range, in my opinion. This can compete on IEMs that are priced like maybe 300 or even to, you know, around 400. So it's something to look out for. But yeah, the question is, do I compare it with the Butterfly? Not really. I mean, you know how I ranked the Butterfly. I didn't really like it. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's just the tonality, but just for the sake of comparison, I mean, it's not really a direct comparison because, again, the signature is very different. As you can see there, the Butterfly is like, if you're in for bassy approach, then pick the Butterfly. B, Butterfly, bass. But if you're in for the treble, you know, you pick the Dragonfly, Dragonfly D, no, it's not T, track now. Anyhow, Dragonfly, if you're in for forward treble goodness, this is the one to pick. See you in my next video.